So this video is a re-recording of a final part of a video that I had, like 3 parts of this already out. So if you are kind of new here and have not watched any of my videos beforehand, this is your sign to go back and watch the previous parts to this video. My favorite soundtracks of gaming just compiled in one little compilation with me going over a little bit how they impacted my story or my experience with the game, because I believe the sound of the game also helps you impact it or impacts your interpretation of it, if that makes sense. So for this video, we'll be talking about Persona 5. At the time of recording this video, my homeboy has just told me that he is going to be starting and playing Persona 5. I think he has already started it, so I'm very happy to see that he's finally taken my recommendation and that he's going to be playing this amazing game. So let's just hope that he's gonna have a good experience with that. No, we're talking about Persona 5, or basically just the entire Persona series and just their soundtracks and how it infects, or at least increases, at least my enjoyment of the games. So I guess we can start off with my least favorite to most favorite, I guess. We can start with Persona 3 Reload. Persona 3 Reload is the 3rd game of the series, but remade. I have not played the original or the portable version of this because I just don't have access to all. I don't think I have access to that, at least not at the current moment. But I do think that its soundtrack is very important in terms of interpreting the story, or not maybe not interpreting the story, but at least enhancing your experience with the story. Persona 3 Reload is the darkest game out of the series, or at least out of the ones that I've played. Persona 4 and Persona 5 are very much more lighthearted in comparison to Persona 3. The story focuses so much on death, or at least the concept of death, and that's not even getting into spoiler territory. That's within the first 5 hours of the game. It already tells you that death is a motif. So it's interesting to see how some of their songs kind of like play into that. Not even just the songs without, or not even just the songs with lyrics, but the songs without lyrics. Memories of You, Memories of School are pretty good examples of this. I'll probably be playing Memories of School as I go through this, but honestly, it has a nice little melody that takes you through the entire soundtrack, which can pop up in different songs, like the Hangout theme, because every Persona game has a different Hangout theme. And for Persona 3, the Hangout themes is wildly enough has a similar chord melody of like the bass line to like the main ending song of the game, which I would not be getting into spoiler territory, because if you played the game, you would already understand this. Just a quick little spoiler warning for both Persona 3 Reload, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 5 Royal. That's what I'm going to be spoiling. So Kenny, if you're watching this video, I'm going to put the timestamp on when I start talking about Persona 5. Just don't watch that part of the video until you finish the game. Favorite, it doesn't mean that it's bad. I think Persona 3 Reload is a great game, and I think that its soundtrack is a good way of making sure that you are not only has a nice nostalgic feel to it. That's what I personally believe that Persona 3 soundtrack does, because it's a nice jazz fusion or funk fusion, and I think that combining of genres really helps encapsulate the energy of many different storylines that are taking place within the game. So I think that's the kind of the highlight there. Moving on to Persona 4 Golden, my personal favorite in terms of story in the series, but when it comes to gameplay, I have to put that to Persona 5. But essentially though, Persona 4 Golden is the game that that's very much most lighthearted, at least until you get to the story. It's very much most lighthearted until you get into the main aspect of the story, which is interesting to say the least, but it's a murder mystery. And I believe that small town feel is very much represented perfectly throughout the soundtrack. So for songs like Heartbeat, Heartbreak, which essentially focuses on the aspect of small towns where everyone knows each other, but heartbreak is inevitable because everyone's trying different things, everyone is moving on to different things, which isn't expressed outright throughout the lyrics, but it can be related to the main story. Within the different social links or confidants, because I'm going to call them that, within Persona 4 Golden, you hear many different stories of the struggles of being in a small town in, I forgot what town it was called, but in Japan. And that small town had its ups and downs. Like, yes, y'all had a smaller, tight-knit community, but it had struggles of like career opportunities, not feeling like you were stuck in one place, and I guess in some scenarios, just love in general, which is another central theme about Persona 4 Golden, is not necessarily just love, but how at least it is very easy for a lot of men to end up objectifying women, which I'm not going to get into it too deep because it is very much in spoiler territory, but essentially though, that's something that if you really listen to the lyrics and like figure out how to put that into the story, is actually very spot on. Not only is it objectifying, but it's also like the obsession for finding companionship within other people is very much heavily expressed throughout the soundtrack. And wildly enough, it is also expressed throughout the story as well. Persona 4 Golden has many different scenarios where they're basically trying to force the main character into certain love angles or love routes or things of that nature. But not only just that, but the entire cast. And even though that's a thing that kind of happens in at least all three of the Persona games that I've played, it happens the most in Persona 4 Golden. And they do it very weirdly, but I feel like it was an intentional literary, or not even, I don't think it was an intentional literary choice to convey a certain message when it comes to about how we treat love and the unhealthy and healthy ways to go about it, if that makes sense. But I'll probably be making another video about that. But this songs like Your Affection, Heartbeat, Heartbreak, really encapsulate that. But even if you want to go off of just purely a vibe scenario, songs like Heaven is wonderful. It has that 90s R&B jazz fusion. Once again, Persona soundtracks mixing a different type of two different types of genres, one of them involving jazz and another genre, which I think I hear most of is R&B, but there's other genres that get blended in within different soundtrack or within different tracks of the game. And I feel like that created a really good upbeat vibe that somehow still hits your soul when you really listen to the lyrics or feel like the emotion within the vocalist's voice. And then finally, we can talk about my favorite game when it comes to purely gameplay aspect would be Persona 5. Persona 5 is, once again, fusing jazz and honestly so many different aspects of other types of music. Like you hear jazz rock or like a jazz rock fusion in certain songs, but then you also hear like that cozy jazz or like lounge. I think that's what it's called. I think they call it like a lounge jazz in certain songs. And this isn't even just in bass, this is also in Royal too. Like, but I will say in certain songs they do focus more on the rock side. But even then, all of these games or Persona 5 has a really good way of combining their lyrics into subtle aspects of different types of storytelling. I feel like Persona 5 does it the best. Taking the song that you probably have heard in hundreds of my videos at this point, Beneath the Mask. Beneath the Mask is a prime good example of just this, because it's literally telling you subtly how the shadows think, how the main character thinks, and how any other character who is traversing throughout the metaverse is thinking when it comes to just general thinking or mindsets when it comes to this. They say, I am a shapeshifter and pose masquerade. Now, out of the blue, that doesn't sound like much, but when you place that alongside the story, it can kind of have a little bit of a double meaning. the main character has to use multiple personas in order to, well, do what they need to do to help the team out. But not only that, the shadows themselves are also shapeshifters. But not only that, you could also interpret that in terms of a personal level of saying how this mask that everyone is holding is just a facade, and it's basically changing how you move as a person in different social settings. And I feel like that's a really beautiful way to like make a double, maybe even triple entendre in just a song in general. I feel like it's beautiful writing, and I feel like it's a really good way to like actually like, you know, there's a word I'm looking for here. I'm struggling to find the words that I'm looking for to describe this song. Well, not even just the song, just the soundtrack of Persona 5 in general, but it's just genuinely one of the best in my personal opinion. If I had to personally rank their Persona soundtracks from best to worst, it would be like, number one, it would be Persona 4 Golden. No. Number one, it would be Persona 5 Royal, specifically Royal. Bass is good too, but Royal has bass plus more tracks that are even better. Then it would be Persona 4 Golden, and then Persona 3 Reload. Now, I'm not gonna lie, these are so interchangeable. Well, at least Persona 4 and Persona 3 are. But Persona 5, for me, it's like damn near definitive. And that might be nostalgia talking, because I've played this game like 6 times during the pandemic. And mind you, a lot of people kind of forget, the pandemic lasted 3 years. Played the game a lot, and I still had other times to play other games. But then I came back to this after I finished those. So, I don't know. My main point being is that Persona 5 might have the best soundtrack that I've listened to or listened to while playing a game, like ever. But no, if any Persona fans that are out here, let me know what soundtracks y'all fuck with heavy, because I know what I fuck with heavy. I just told y'all. And I'm not even getting into the nitty-gritty of things, because I can't make my videos too long right now, because my phone will die. I do everything off my phone. I don't have a PC yet. So this is just getting into the surface of these things. If I were to get a PC, I could probably do a deeper dive on like all of these songs, let alone soundtracks and just games and anything. But I don't know. If you at least sure to like and subscribe, I had to throw it in there, you know. And if you're coming from TikTok, which I would kind of hope that you're doing, because I'm gonna be posting these on TikTok, be sure to follow me on there, and then subscribe to me on here. We're very close to 300 subscribers. I realized that the YouTube Shorts is kind of what's keeping me afloat here, so I'm just gonna keep posting those. But I'm gonna be doing better with my editing, so let me know how y'all think about that. And at the time of recording this video, it's probably not gonna get posted until I'm there, but I'm going to DreamCon, so look out for that. There's probably gonna be a whole vlog with that. And based off how my life be going, this might be posted after that vlog, honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you. But we'll see how that works when we get there. That being said, y'all